它这个就算是市中心一个制高点了。
对对对，就是说主要观览这个地方呢，就是呢市中心它一个比较高的一个地方，你呢周围呢市中心周围的楼啊什么的都可以看一看。
Okay, so again, just be careful as you step up onto the step here, and then just watch your head as we go inside.
好。小心你的头。是吗？他会比较暗。
Just get you to stand for a few more minutes and.
他们是从这个地方。
So this is the Guardroom. So Private Przanko just finished his stand out front for about an hour, and this is his break room for the next 2 hours. Historically, as I said, the soldiers stood out front for 2 hours, and they had a 4-hour break here in this Guardroom. So they were allowed to basically relax while they were in here. They're still a part of the guard detachment, so they still needed to be able to go at any moment's notice. While they were here, they're also in charge of the security of the fort. You know, misbehaving soldiers would actually be thrown in one of the 2 rooms on your right there. We have the large sort of open room on the left is the drunk tank, and then over here on the right is 2 solitary confinement cells. And we can just head back there, and once we're done there, we'll come back and look at the soldier themselves and the rifle that they carry.
所以他们的休息室，然后外面的士兵呢，就基本上是会在外面站2个小时，然后过来休息一下，然后每4个小时换。
So these 2 cells here are sort of short-term confinement cells, and so any major crime, major offense committed by a soldier, they wouldn't necessarily be held here in these rooms. They'd actually be sent to long-term military prison cells. So these are more for short-term. Very similar to a police department, how they would operate, holding people for a short period of time. Do you have any questions at all so far?
他们士兵是男生女生都是 OK 的，是吗？男女都可以做士兵。
So the 应该是男女的嘛？对对对。So the soldier must be woman or man or.
Historically, all the soldiers were male, but modern times, we are equal opportunity employer, so we welcome anyone to work here, to apply. You basically just apply like any job, and we take the resume and application of the individual, and then after that they go through a physical evaluation, just basically if they can take in the information that they would be provided with on the parade square, and how fast they can learn that information and retain it, and then perform that same sort of drill movement and information. And then after that, they're offered an interview possibly, and if they pass the interview as well as the physical component, then they're offered a job. And we usually only work, May until the end of October. The majority of our staff are university or high school students, or have graduated from either of those 2 or both. Okay, so we'll just head back out here, and just going to talk a bit more about the soldiers themselves and what they're wearing. Yes, of course.
Why just come in the room and take off the?
It's more of a sort of respect, and it was a rule at the time. You see rules like that sort of changing throughout history. Sometimes people wore their hats inside, sometimes they took them off. It all depended on what what was socially accepted at that time. 1869, for a soldier coming indoors, you remove your headdress, your head cover. 1869, yes. So something that we usually talk about on the tours is the rifles that the soldiers carry and that they use while working here at the fort. All of the rifles, or at least all the small arms that we use on a daily basis, they are original weapons. What year is yours?
That would be 1867.
So this rifle is actually from 1867. So it's 151 years old this year. So it's just as old as Canada, the country.
Oh, made in Canada.
Not necessarily made in Canada, but as old as the country. Yeah. So it's a little different from what we're used to seeing in movies. The muskets where they would load from this portion here, up at the muzzle, using the ramrod to push everything down. This actually opens up at the back. So it's a new type of technology by this time period. It's something that's slowly coming about and evolving. And what this allows is for a faster reload time. So with this type of technology, this breech loading technology being incorporated into small arms, this starts to change how battles were fought. So as I had mentioned earlier, going into battle, Private Przanko would wear this red jacket. He's standing out on the battlefield, making a great target of himself, and eventually they're going to need to change the colors that they're wearing because weapons are much more accurate. You don't have to stand so close to each other anymore on the battlefield to hit the opposing line. You can fire from longer distances and hit your target, for the most part, every single time. So with the sort of inception of this new type of technology, you see battlefield tactics, how they fight battles, and the uniforms or the clothing that they wear change very quickly. So they go from wearing bright red jackets to more darker colors, very plain colors. So tans, browns and greens, camouflage type colors. And then eventually by the First World War, you see soldiers wearing that olive drab color, the sort of dark green in the trenches.
So in the war, the soldier will wear the suit?
That's correct.
And just carry this one?
Yeah, so that would still be worn in front. So this here is called a sporran. And a sporran is a Gaelic word for purse or pouch, so it sort of roughly translates to purse or pouch. And the reason for that is there actually is a pocket underneath, and that allows a soldier to carry small belongings or money or papers, because the kilt traditionally doesn't have any pockets on it. You'll see modern kilts that have some pockets on them, but historically and traditionally a kilt doesn't have any pockets. So you need a place to put your personal belongings, and the sporrans.
Not the red color, just the green color, the dark color.
Nowadays it is, but historically in 1869 they were still wearing this
red color.
That's right. Yes. You will see throughout history different times where they will change the color, but majority of the time this is what they're going into battle wearing. So in addition to the rifle, if Private Przanko ran out of ammunition, bullets, he has a bayonet, which is basically a piece of metal that sticks on the end of his rifle. So this is basically what it pulls out to be. And this just fixes to the end of the rifle. And then locks in place. So either he's out of ammunition, he can't fire his rifle anymore, or he's been instructed to place the bayonet on the end and run towards the enemy, so charge towards them with the bayonet on the end.
Thank you.
So the black suit is the normal soldiers are not in the history or...
So the difference between the uniforms, they're still historic uniforms. So historically, that's what they wore in the artillery, the people that are in charge of firing cannons. But
in the war, and just the suit.
No, they would also wear that uniform, the black uniform. The difference is the different types of soldiers. So we're representing infantry soldiers or foot soldiers, where they do all the marching. The guys on the wall, which we'll go up in a few minutes and see, they represent soldiers that fire cannons. Now those cannons could be fired from forts like this, or if you look over there, you can see those large gray wheels. There's what's called field guns underneath there, under those tarps, and those are more maneuverable weapons or guns, cannons that are actually used on the battlefield. Okay, so I'll head up the stairs here. I just ask you to be careful as we're walking up the stairs, just to watch your footing. Okay, so this is the other uniform that I told you about. So these are members of the 3rd Brigade of the Royal Artillery. So just like us, we're all reenactors. They are as well. But they are portraying artillery members that would be here on site historically.
这就是黑的，穿着黑色服装的士兵，然后他们是在炮台做演习。
So right now they're going through their gun drill. So basically everything that they are doing here allows us to move this gun and fire the cannon. This is also our noonday gun. So this is the gun that we fire every day at 12 o'clock, with the exception of Christmas Day.
We'll look around number 3. Elevate! Get right into it. Do that again. Back immediately, especially you number 3 and number 2.
So just while they're moving around, just get you guys to stay here, just so that they don't bump into you, because they will be moving these large pieces of wood. So sir, I'll just get you to step back just a little bit there, just so that they have room to work. Thank you. Yeah, so they're just training. These are new recruits. They're in first couple weeks of working here, and they're just learning how to properly work on this gun.
Very good. Now let's force them down.
So what they're doing right now is they're putting the gun back in its resting position.
Number 3, you need to be closer to the end of the hand spike.
So once the gun is done firing or being worked on, they put it back in its resting position so that the rainwater, that if it does collect in the back of the gun, it's not going to sit where the explosive would normally be put to fire the gun. So in order to do that, we use these long pieces of wood called hand spikes, and we lift up the back of the gun and put in that blue block. That's called a coin block. So the top one is used for the putting the gun in its resting position, but the lower block is actually used to elevate or to aim the gun properly. So it's a very simple way of elevating, or sorry, rather to aim this gun.
That whole thing 2 more times. So everyone, you now know what you're doing.
So they're going to go right through from the top, all the way through the procedure to load and fire and then cease fire this gun. So we can hang out here for just a few minutes and watch that happen.
Okay.
And I'll explain as we go along.
Elevate!
So again, the first thing that they need to do is remove that top block in order to.
Level edge down, number 3.
They need to remove that first block so that they can work on the gun correctly. And when they do go run the gun up, we want to make sure that the barrel sits outside the fort.
Legs, nice and slow.
他们在演习，然后准备。
Control of it, so you don't lose control.
刚刚发完炮，然后把炮台降低。
Cut!
We work on
But
it.
it works, right?
Pardon me?
It works.
It does work. We still fire this every day.
Oh, every day.
Every day.
12 o'clock.
12 o'clock, that's right. Yes. So what they're doing right here is basically the same thing, but they're cleaning out the entire inside of the bore. And so that long piece of wood there, called a wad hook, has what looks like a corkscrew on the end of it.
Yeah.
And as that gets pushed to the back of the gun, it's rotated. So it's collecting any debris that might be either left over from a previous firing or any garbage that someone may have put in
是
there.
在清理，他在清理，看有没有什么残留物啊什么的。
Where direction are you going?
他每天的12点会放炮，
就是他现在还真的可以工作。
对，他是可以这种工作。然后
Saluting cartridge! Oh! Down on 3.
So now what they're doing is they're going through the procedure to load the gun. So actually putting explosives or black powder into the bore of the gun. So they're not actually doing it right now. Again, we're just practicing. But that long piece of wood, the second piece of wood that they're...
black powder and put.
Yeah, so they'll put the black powder into the back of the gun. So they're using the other long stave or implement. It's called a rammer. And that just pushes the black powder to the end. And you'll see this individual here with his hand up on top of the back of the gun. What he's doing there is he's actually restricting airflow so that, in doing repeat firings, firing one after another, you want to make sure that if there's any burning embers left over, we don't stir them up with, pushing that powder to the back and then causing, airflow.
他刚才那个动作是把那些就是那个粉放进去。
Use your legs. Number 2.
So every time we move this gun in any way, really, we use these hand spikes, these long pieces of wood. Now, if we were to fire a cannonball from this gun, we would fire a 12-pound solid iron shot, a cannonball. It looks like a large bowling ball.
Oh, okay. It's a powder to make the ball.
How do you mean? Sorry.
So the powder and what kind of ball?
Iron. So like a metal ball.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's about that big, give or take, and it's 12 pounds.
Let's go!
12 pounds in weight.
Let's go, number 5. Hurry up. Bevel that jump, number 5.
So when we actually would fire this gun with a cannonball inside, it would move to the back on its own. But because we just fire a blank, there's no actual cannonball or projectile being fired. We have to move it up or forward and back on our own.
So can we continue?
Yes, absolutely. If you'd like to, we can continue. Sure. What we'll do is we'll What we'll do is we'll head over this way and talk about these flags that we have flying.